The IDF Chief of Staff has approved the expansion of the ground operation in southern Lebanon, and the Iranian-backed Shiite terrorist organization Hezbollah might be on the verge of losing everything. Even the late Hassan Nasrallah never imagined it might be the end this way. On Sunday evening, the IDF carried out a targeted assassination of Salim Ayash in Damascus. This evil man was a Hezbollah operative with a $10 million price on his head because he had been convicted of assassinating former Lebanese Prime Minister Rafik Hariri. This event sent shockwaves all throughout the Middle East when it happened in 2005, but now the account has been closed. Meanwhile, in the Gaza Strip, the IDF will expand the humanitarian area, but will not compromise on the UNRWA issue. Simultaneously, the IDF spokesperson published footage from the security camera found in Hamas headquarters showing terrible images of the torture of Palestinian civilians by Hamas. Finally, Qatar is demanding that Israel refrain from assassinating senior Hamas officials on their soil amidst reports that they are expelling the remaining Hamas leadership from Doha, the capital of Qatar. Last but not least, there is rising tensions with Iran, and some indications show that the Ayatollah regime has already begun an attack on Israel. We have a lot to talk about, so let's dive into the details. I'm Yair Pinto, and this is your Boots on the Ground report about what is happening in Israel on the 403rd day of the war against Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis in Yemen, and all the Shiite militias in Iraq and Syria, all of which are operating under the direction of Iran, the head of the axis of evil in the Middle East. Before we begin, I would like to ask you to click on the subscribe button so that you'll never miss another episode of Boots on the Ground. Today's video is sponsored by Arza Box. If you don't know Arza, stay tuned and I'll talk about them and their magnificent operation later in the report. You will not regret it. But first, the news. The IDF Chief of Staff, General Herzi Halevi, has approved the expansion of the ground operations in southern Lebanon. This maneuver is expected to involve thousands of regular and reserve soldiers, and senior defense officials say that the new plans are intended to allow the IDF to deepen the achievements so far and reach additional areas where Hezbollah operates. The decision to expand the ground maneuver comes amidst diplomatic efforts to reach a ceasefire agreement with Lebanon, mediated by the United States. According to security sources, if an agreement is signed in the coming days, the IDF will be able to adjust itself quickly and deploy forces along the borderline according to the agreements that will be reached. However, until a ceasefire agreement is reached, the IDF is taking every opportunity to degrade the capabilities of Hezbollah. On Saturday evening, this meant hitting Salim Ayash, a Hezbollah operative that has a $10 million bounty on his head because he had been convicted of assassinating Rafik Hariri, the former Prime Minister of Lebanon. The assassination took place way back in 2005, and Ayash was convicted of the crime in 2020. If that seems like a long time to investigate a crime and prosecute someone for it, remember that this is the Middle East, where there are many secrets and a code of silence. It is actually somewhat remarkable that the mystery was even solved, as there are many other stories about things that have happened here over the decades that we never heard the end of. But on Saturday night, we got the rare opportunity to see the end of this story when an Israeli airstrike in the Syrian city of Qusayr in western Syria brought Ayash's terrorist career to an end. The $10 million bounty on him was offered by the United States government, and I'm not sure if the IDF will collect it or not, and if so, will it go to the pilot who flew the strike mission, or will the IDF keep the money, or what will happen with it? I'm not sure how that works, but in any event, this case is now closed. According to reports in Arab-language media portals, this was the only one of several Israeli airstrikes to target Hezbollah operatives in Syria over the past few days. Several casualties were reported from these strikes, despite Hezbollah's apparent belief that they could hide from the IDF in Syria. On Sunday, the official Sana agency reported that after midnight, Israeli aircrafts attacked several sites in the rural bases of Aleppo and Idlib, according to a representative of the London-based opposition group, the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. This is the first time that Israel has struck targets in Idlib. The source added that Hezbollah headquarters in the city were the targets of these strikes. The additional bombings was on the defense factories in the eastern area of Aleppo and on scientific research institutes used as centers for weapons development in this area. This is according to the source. He continued saying that the Israeli bombings was carried out several times. The irony is that the strikes occurred hours after a meeting between Russian and Turkish officials in the area. That is, no one thought that Israel would attack military headquarters there. Now you might wonder what Hezbollah is doing in Syria, as they are a Lebanese organization. Simply put, Hezbollah elements and other Iranian-backed militias in Syria are working to send weapon supplies to Hezbollah to use in the battle against Israel. Israel has made several strikes on these supply routes and the Hezbollah personnel who use them. Switching our focus slightly to ground operations in Lebanon, forces of the IDF's Division 36, in cooperation with special units and under the guidance of the Intelligence Directorate, conducted a special operation last week to destroy a Hezbollah bunker and a tunnel complex in southern Lebanon. An entrance to the complex was found hidden beneath a cemetery, and in the process of investigating the entrance, many other tunnel shafts were uncovered. According to the IDF spokesman, the underground terror complex contained command rooms, living quarters, and weapons storage facilities filled with weapons and combat equipment ready for a raid into the Israeli territory. In cooperation with division forces, including units from the Yalam Special Engineering Unit, the Golani Brigade, Brigade 282, the Logistical Corps of Division 36, and Engineering Battalion 605, the soldiers investigated and destroyed the underground terror complex. Large amounts of weapons, ammunition, intelligence materials, and equipment were captured in this process. When the bunker complex had been cleaned out, hundreds of trucks and cement mixers were brought in to fill it up with about 4,500 cubic meters of concrete. Overall, the warren of underground tunnels, which was dug about 1,500 meters from the Israeli border, stretched for about a kilometer in length, most of which was cleared to a height of about 2 meters. This is a good place to tell you that in the last few weeks, TBN Israel has been invited by the IDF spokesperson's office to join the media tours of some of these Hezbollah tunnel complexes. Mati Shoshani and I both got to go to see for ourselves what Hezbollah has done with these tunnels in southern Lebanon. If you missed the videos we made of these tours, they are available on our YouTube channel, TBN Israel. But remember, Hezbollah doesn't only have tunnels to threaten Israel with. They also have large arsenals of rockets, missiles, and UAVs, drones. 80 rockets were fired into northern Israel on Monday afternoon in one of the largest barrages since the beginning of the war in the north. Sirens were heard in a very long line of communities from the Western Galilee to the Upper Galilee, up to Haifa and the Krayot area. The Lebanese El Mayadeen network affiliated with Hezbollah claimed that after the unusual barrage, 2 ballistic missiles were also launched from Lebanon. Subsequently, sirens were heard due to additional barrages in which dozens more rockets were launched. Magen David Adom paramedics treated several wounded people from the attacks, which came one day after the new defense minister Israel Katz declared that Israel has defeated Hezbollah. His successor in the foreign ministry, Gideon Sa'ar, said in a briefing to foreign journalists hours before the unusual barrages that there is progress in talks for a ceasefire with Lebanon. According to him, Israel is working on this together with the United States, with the main challenge being to enforce previous agreements such as the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1701. Sar also said that Russia, Syria, and the international community can contribute to stopping Hezbollah's rearmament in Lebanon and ensuring its freedom without an Iranian proxy. The most important thing for the future of the region is to prevent Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons. Recently, new details have emerged about the agreement with Lebanon, in which Hezbollah will withdraw its forces north of the Litani River and will not renew its military deployment in the area between the Litani and the border with Israel. The IDF will withdraw from Hezbollah's first line of positions in Lebanon, which it currently holds, back to the international borderline. Within 60 days of the implementation of this agreement, the Lebanese National Army, probably with assistance from the United States and the French forces, will demolish Hezbollah's remaining infrastructure in this area. International guarantees from the United States and Russia are also expected to ensure that Hezbollah is not allowed to rearm, and in any case, if there is any violation of this agreement by Hezbollah, Israel is granted the right to respond accordingly with international backing. I have a brief comment to make about all of this. Russia and its close geopolitical allies, Iran and Syria, are the sources of most of the weapons that Hezbollah uses. So, it seems odd to me that Russia will be one of the powers being given a mandate to watch over Hezbollah to make sure it doesn't rearm. For that matter, it is not only odd, but kind of absurd that Syria is also being given a mandate under this plan to ensure that its territory is not used to transfer weapons to Hezbollah. An old saying about leaving the fox to guard the chicken coop comes to mind in this context. Be that as it may, this is the framework that is being offered, and it is important to point out that the agreement is with the internationally recognized government of the State of Lebanon, which is historically weak and disorganized, as well as being bankrupt. But I don't want to be too pessimistic, so let's leave it at that for now. We'll continue to report if needed, if the agreement is indeed signed. In the meantime, the IDF will need, in the first stage, to approve Hezbollah from southern Lebanon before this agreement can even be possible. Before we go on with the news, I will ask you to please continue helping us spread the truth by sharing this video on YouTube and subscribing to this YouTube channel to help us reach more people around the world. Speaking of helping us, many of you have asked in the comments section, how can we help Israel practically, especially in the areas near the border with Lebanon that have been hit by rockets and missiles for over a year now. The residents of northern Israel are in a difficult situation. Most are evacuated from their homes, businesses are not functioning, factories and farms are not producing, and services are not being delivered in these areas. This devastating situation does not seem to be coming to an end anytime soon. On top of that, there is almost no tourism in Israel now, and I know a lot of our viewers want to come and see the Holy Land firsthand, but they can't. But I want to tell you about a great way not only to help Israel, but also bring a taste of our sacred land to your home. I'm talking about Arza boxes. They are locally produced, delivered directly to your doorsteps. These Arza boxes are filled with flavors, scents, and craftsmanship that are made right in the Holy Land. So ordering Arza boxes is not only a great gift to yourself or to your loved ones, it's a true blessing for Israel's stability. So guys, please go to www.arzabox.com and don't forget to use our exclusive 10% discount by entering the code TBNIL, and you will find great and original gifts for Christmas or any other occasion. Thank you for taking part in our campaign for Israel's future. And now, let's go back to the news. We're over a year into the war in the Gaza Strip, and recently, the IDF spokesperson's unit gave us a glimpse into the life and rule of the terrorist organization Hamas by posting a video that they captured showing interrogations of the Palestinians suspected of rebelling against Hamas. The videos are very hard to watch, as they show severe abuse carried out by Hamas operatives against civilians in Gaza. I'm talking about Palestinians. The captured videos have timestamps showing that they were filmed between the years of 2018 and 2020 and were apparently filmed on security cameras inside Hamas bases in the northern Gaza Strip, which the IDF raided earlier this year. They were discovered on computers taken from the abandoned compound in the Jabalia refugee camp. The videos reveal cruel methods of interrogating civilians, violating human rights, and systematically suppressing residents suspected of opposing the organization's rule. This highlights Hamas's method of rule in the Gaza Strip through sheer terror. The videos have attracted the attention of large media portals in Western countries, which talk about the scenes in the videos that include prisoners being held in chains with sacks over their heads, being deprived of sleep, water, and food for long periods of time. In some videos, prisoners are shown with one ankle in a metal chain held over their head, forced to balance on the other leg and left like that for several hours. In one video, a man is seen screaming in pain. All these are being published now when in Gaza there are still 401 days after the massacre of October 7, 101 Israeli hostages, many of whom are still alive. Switching our focus elsewhere in the Gaza Strip, the IDF announced a short while ago that steps are being taken to expand the humanitarian area in Mawasi, in the north and east humanitarian zones in the Gaza Strip. Regarding the aid trucks, as of today, between 150 to 200 trucks enter the Gaza Strip every day. In the document currently being drafted by the political echelon of Israel, Minister Dermer will emphasize that within a few weeks, Israel will try to reach 350 trucks to meet the demands of the Biden administration in the United States. Guys, here at TBN Israel, we will continue to report on what is happening in the Gaza Strip. But before we continue, once again, I would like to ask you to help us by sharing this video on YouTube, subscribing to this YouTube channel, and following us on social media. It really helps us reach more people with the truth. You can also visit our website at tbnisrael.com, where you can view our news portal and visit our online store. Speaking of selling something, the government of Qatar has approached Israel demanding assurances that it will not carry out assassination attempts against senior Hamas officials on its soil, according to a report Sunday evening on Israel's Kan news portal. According to the report, the request was conveyed through diplomatic channels used between the countries recently. It was also reported that after the assassination attributed to Israel of Hamas political chief Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran several months ago, another such request was made. It can be assumed that the Qatari request is connected to its decision regarding the mediation and hosting the Hamas leadership in the country. Regarding those efforts, on Saturday evening, Ynet, an Israeli news portal, quoted American sources who said that the Qatari announcement that contacts would be frozen but mediation efforts would not be stopped was intended to increase pressure on Hamas. Qatar wants to clear the table before Trump arrives to correct the impression that it did not genuinely pressure Hamas. Majid El-Ansari, a spokesman for the Qatari Foreign Ministry, confirmed that Qatar has frozen its mediation efforts but added that the reports on the matter are not accurate. According to the spokesman, Qatar informed Hamas and Israel 10 days ago, during the last attempt to reach an agreement, that it would freeze its involvement in the mediation efforts between Hamas and Israel if both sides did not reach an agreement in this round, and would renew the efforts with its partners when there is the required seriousness to end this war. However, seriousness is also required from other players in this drama, including Iran. After it became clear that the Americans thwarted an Iranian plan to assassinate US President-elect Donald Trump before the elections, it also became known that the Ayatollah regime planned to murder Israeli tourists in Sri Lanka last month. According to an indictment filed in the United States federal court over the weekend, Iran planned a mass shooting attack on Israeli tourists in Sri Lanka near the anniversary of the October 7th massacre. They also planned to kidnap or even assassinate 2 Jewish businessmen because of their prominent support for Israel on social media networks. According to the indictment, a man named Farouk Shakiri was asked by a senior official in the Revolutionary Guards of Iran to carry out a mass shooting attack in the Araguam Bay area, as it is a popular destination amongst the Israeli tourists. Shakiri instructed his assistant, who was later arrested by authorities in Sri Lanka, to conduct surveillance of the area and lead the terrorist cells with an AK-47 rifles and additional weapons supplied to him in advance. On October 23, the governments of Israel and the United States issued a joint warning to travelers about a real threat of an attack in the Araguam Bay in this area. A day later, Sri Lanka authorities reported the arrest of 3 suspects, including a man identified as Shakiri's assistants. The FBI investigation revealed that Shakiri and his assistant met while serving prison sentences together in Sri Lanka, and even before planning the attack, Shakiri asked him to conduct surveillance on the Israeli consulate in the island nation. This information was passed, according to him, to a senior official in the Revolutionary Guards who instructed him to shift efforts towards the tourist targets. The indictment further revealed that Shakiri was asked to assassinate 2 Jewish businessmen in New York in exchange for $1 million or $500,000 per person. The 2, whose names were not released, were chosen because of their social media activities supporting Israel and became central targets for Tehran. According to court documents, the Revolutionary Guards sent Shakiri pictures of the businessmen from social media networks and asked him to carry out the job cleanly and immediately. The new details add to those revealed last Friday, indicating that on October 7 this year, Shakiri received a new central mission to prepare a plan to surveil Trump and ultimately kill him. These are times when Israel stands at the forefront of the war between civilization and barbarism, between good and evil. You and I play a crucial role in this war by telling and spreading the truth. So, once again, I will ask you to share these videos on YouTube, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and follow us on social media. But most importantly, please pray with us for the peace of Israel. Please pray for the safety of the IDF soldiers wherever they are, in the air, in the sea, or on the land. Pray for the safety of the hostages in the Gaza Strip and their swift return home. Pray for the safety of the residents of the North, that they may return to their homes safely. And most importantly, don't forget to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And together, we will win this war. Thank you.
Hello, this is Mati here in Jerusalem with TBN Israel.
This is Yair Pinto from TBN Israel here in Jerusalem. TBN Israel is keeping viewers informed with Israel-focused news, culture, and what God is doing in this land.
Support TBN Israel today online at tbn.org/Israel. Thank you.